Welcome to Dark Knight Films Reviews and another Versus Night. Tonight, I will be comparing The Hustler, released in 1961, versus The Color of Money, released in 1986. So, let's get started on this one with the leads. The Hustler stars Paul Newman and Jackie Gleason. The Color of Money stars Paul Newman and Tom Cruise. Now, The Hustler is one of those films with Paul Newman where he's just so cool. And it was when he was younger, so his character of Fast Eddie Felson is a very cocky, brash pool hustler, and he is excellent in the role. But some of this film, in the scenes in which he is interacting with and playing pool with Minnesota Fats, played by Jackie Gleason, he is completely outshined by Jackie Gleason. This was a very different type of a role for Jackie Gleason at this point. Jackie Gleason was mostly known for his comedy and the Jackie Gleason Show and The Honeymooners, and he wasn't known as a dramatic actor. And a lot of folks don't know it, but he was an expert pool player as well. So any of the scenes in this film where he is playing pool, those are really shots that he is actually making on that pool table. Can't really say that for Paul Newman. He might have worked on his skills and some of those shots might have been really him, but can't say that with full verification the way that I can about Jackie Gleason. But he totally became the character of Minnesota Fats in this film and gave an excellent performance. The Color of Money, Paul Newman's Fast Eddie, is back, and he's a little bit different because, he has at this point given up pool and is trying to live a normal life as this salesman. And he's successful in this new job that he has done after pool. But he meets Tom Cruise's character and immediately, decides, to be a mentor to him. And Tom Cruise, he kind of embodies a little bit of what Paul Newman had in the original Hustler, except much like when he played Maverick in Top Gun, he adds a little bit more of that cocky attitude that just annoys you more than just you think he's cool as shit. So, for the leads in this one, Paul Newman's performance in Color of Money was great. So much so that he won an Academy Award for it. But I think the younger version of Fast Eddie and the combination of Jackie Gleason as Minnesota Fats was the better duo of the leads. So I'm going to go with The Hustler on this one. All right, so let's move on to supporting. Supporting cast in The Hustler consists of Piper Laurie, George C. Scott, Myron McCormick, Murray Hamilton, Michael Constantine, and Vincent Gardenia. The supporting cast on The Color of Money consists of Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio, Helen Shaver, John Turturro, Bill Cobbs, Forrest Whitaker, and Keith McCready. This one's a little bit tougher, because Piper Laurie's character in The Hustler was well portrayed. She did an excellent job and was a great love interest to Paul Newman's character. And, you know, they have a really good chemistry in the film. And George C. Scott's character in here of Bert is a professional gambler, and he puts up the stakes for a couple of games that Eddie is playing. And he's not the kind of guy you cross.
Eddie, you owe me money.
And, you know, playing such a, you know, douchebag of a character would normally, any other actor would play it. You would just look at him as a complete asshole, and you would not see the intricacies of how he is played. But watching George C. Scott, amazing actor, playing this character, yes, he's an asshole, but the way he plays him is so interesting. He makes Bert such an interesting character. So, yeah, he's a standout in this film, of course. George C. Scott was just an amazing actor and just was great in just about anything he did. It's a really good performance and a good role for him in there. And then you have Murray Hamilton, the young version of Murray Hamilton before we had him in Jaws. And he is really good in his part as well in this film. The rest of the cast in The Hustler are okay, but nothing really over. But, you know, with Piper Laurie and George C. Scott and Murray Hamilton, it's, you know, you got some really good actors in there, and they do a really good job in there. Color of Money, Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio is really good as the love interest to Tom Cruise's character. She really does go above and beyond for her man in here, and she's the more likable of the characters. Tom Cruise's character is not very likable. He is pretty much an arrogant little prick, as I said in the leads and everything. She is constantly in the film is just trying to be the good person to lead him in the right direction, and he doesn't always follow. It's just like when Fast Eddie is trying to help him, and he doesn't listen to him all the time, you know, in there. Helen Shaver is not given as good of a part as what Piper Laurie had in The Hustler. She's okay in here. John Turturro, always good. Great actor. He's another one of them like George C. Scott that, you know, I don't think I've hardly ever seen him play in a film where I've seen him play a bad role. He is usually always good. And then you have Forrest Whitaker. And, you know, Forrest Whitaker does a great job in this film as well. So it is so rough because you have, you have those standouts on the supporting on both sides of the spectrum. So this one, I'm going to go with a tie on this one. I cannot give, it to one side or the other on this one because it is just, to me, it's too close. So let's move on to story and see if one of them can take the lead in this one. All right, so the story for The Hustler consists of Fast Eddie Felson is a young hotshot pool hustler who gets a one-of-a-kind chance to play against the legendary Minnesota Fats. The story for Color of Money consists of Fast Eddie Felson returns to the pool game when he's impressed by a new hotshot player, in which he takes him under his wing to give him tutelage. Out of these two plots, they're a little bit similar, except it's kind of the roles are reversed in Color of Money, as Fast Eddie is the hotshot, young player in The Hustler, and whereas Tom Cruise is the hotshot young player in The Color of Money. And then you have the not really mentor figure, but the guy that's the big shot that he has to face with Minnesota Fats, and basically the plots are both damn good, but as I said before on the leads and everything, Tom Cruise's character is not very likable in The Color of Money. He is a pretty arrogant prick of a character. You really feel for Paul Newman's character of Fast Eddie in there because he is trying hard to mentor this kid and show him how to do things. And then he takes it and then he uses it for his own selfish means and kind of screws over Fast Eddie by the end. So it really does leave a little bit of bad taste in your mouth as far as by the end of it, whenever, but I think The Hustler has a little bit better story just because Fast Eddie in The Hustler is that arrogant, brash character, but he's not in the tone of the way Tom Cruise does it. He's a much more likable character in there. And like I said, those moments with Minnesota Fats are amazing in the film. And in those moments, he could be considered more like the Tom Cruise character in Color of Money. But he's still more likable, in my opinion, than what Tom Cruise is in The Color of Money. To me, I think The Color of Money would have been a better story had they made him mentor him a little bit, get him to where he was, and then he, betrays him, and then Fast Eddie decides, well, screw you, I'm going to get in one of these tournaments and I'm going to go against you by the end of it. And then the roles would be reversed, and basically Fast Eddie would be the Minnesota Fats against Tom Cruise's almost variation of Fast Eddie in The Hustler. But they didn't go in that route, unfortunately, with the story. And I think that was a missed opportunity. But yeah, I think I'm going to give this one to The Hustler as well. All right, now let's move on to direction. The Hustler was directed by Robert Rosen. And The Color of Money was directed by Martin Scorsese. Now, these two guys have completely different directing styles, of course. Robert Rosen does a great job in The Hustler in framing the shots, shooting the sequences. The pool scenes are excellently done. But I got to give, Martin Scorsese credit in the sequences, and it's probably something he wasn't used to doing because he's so used to these, crime stories that he's normally used to doing. But he literally does really well in that final tournament game and everything that Tom Cruise is involved in. This one is a tough one too. So I'm going to call this one a tie as well. So our final numbers on this versus night ends up being 4-2 in favor of The Hustler. Okay. But what did you guys think of this versus night? Do you agree with my picks of why I've chosen this stuff? Do you think that The Hustler is the better film, or do you think Color of Money is the better film? Let me know in those comments down below. And as usual, if you enjoyed this video, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to click that bell icon so you can be notified about future videos just like this one. And while you're by the subscribe button, click that join button and become a Dark Knight fan. Well, that's the end of another Versus Night. If you missed last week's Versus Night, check out the link up in here. Or if you've missed any of the other Versus Nights, check out our playlist and see anything that you have missed.